Is June.
Sorry.
Today is June 15th, 2022. This is a once a month free event hosted by Notary Stars Unlimited, Notary Stars and Unlimited Inc. Sorry about that. I know that name is supposed to be for both companies. Today's episode is titled Direct Business, What They Know That You Don't Know They Know. This makes our 6th installment in the series, and if you've missed any of the previous sessions, feel free to visit the replays on notarystars.com/unlimited or subscribe to the YouTube channel where any of the free events we post will notify you immediately upon release. Please make sure that if you're listening to this episode live from your vehicle, that you remain off camera and in listen only mode. We want you to be safe. These sessions were planned out to kind of fit where you should be at this point in the year with your notary business. For instance, interest rates are rising and some of you may no longer be able to survive off of signing agent business. You'll need to market directly to title and do more signing agencies. And we want to help you get your foot in the door. So before we get started, we want to give you a quick reminder on 3 things. Number 1, tomorrow night for our members, we'll have Bill Gamble, the owner of Secure Signings, giving us a very in-depth presentation on how to choose the best RON platform. You really don't want to miss this. Bill's session at the NNA conference this month was outstanding, and it was standing room only. So if you don't know who he is, he's the owner of First American Signing Services, FASS, as it's known in the industry. And he's also the owner of Secured Signings. Much like us here at Notary Stars, he doesn't insist that you use his platform. His entire presentation is just going to be solely about what to look for in a platform. You must be a member for that event, and it is replacing our regularly scheduled mentorship session for tomorrow evening. Number 2, if you're interested in learning more about RON, we're now training on it at Notary Stars, and it's included in the Notary Star level membership and higher. And finally, number 3, Notary Stars has launched a new directory. It's online notariespublic.com, where if you're a RON notary and you're entirely set up and ready to go, we're going to help you find more work as a RON notary. Once we stop filming today, if you have any more questions, please feel free to ask. So let's go ahead and get this party started. With Mr. Ronnie Mickle. He's the original owner of Notary Stars and Unlimited Inc. Notary, if you didn't know that. He's going to give us some valuable insight on what direct business knows, but you might not know they know. And it might change how quickly you develop your relationships. So Mr. Ronnie, take it away, please.
Thanks, Miss Beth. Good evening, everybody. I will let you know that I'm going to be looking at some notes as we go because I have some key points that I really want to cover tonight. And I'm really great at ad-libbing and giving you my peace of mind over the phone and not pausing. But these are key points that I want to talk about tonight because I know everybody's feeling the pains right now. Things are slowing down. Interest rates just went up again today. Things are going to slow down a little bit more. And I want to tell you that we're not talking about signing agencies right now in this episode. Believe me, I wished Unlimited Inc., my signing agency, had all the business in the world and all of you had to come to me, but you all deserve direct business as well. I did a quick Google search today about how many direct title agencies there are. I think the American Land and Title Association assists 4,500 companies, which are title agencies, but then they all have multiple offices throughout the country. So if we just say each one of those have 100 offices, there's enough for all of us to have 2 offices as an industry giving us direct business. And that means you get higher fees and that's what you want, right? So tonight is all about, you guys should be, if you've been with us since January, if you're just coming in, you may want to push this out a little bit. If you've been training at Notary Stars, if you've been training at Notary to Pro, if you've been training everywhere else and cross training, you may want to start walking in the door. You may want to start visiting companies and getting them to use you. But I have to tell you from experience, walking in the door, you get that deer in the headlight look, right? Like, what do I say once I get through the door? What are they looking at? What do they know about me? And I know it's a tongue twister when you hear what they know that you don't know they know when you walk through the door. But knowing this information is actually going to help you when you walk through the door and you know what they're already thinking, right? And I can go on for a long time about these topics, but I'm going to get started. So just as a reminder, we're not talking about signing agencies tonight. We are talking about if you're ready to walk into a title agency and start getting business. How do you start that conversation? What frame of mind do you need to be in? First things first, title and escrow already knows that every notary and every industry or across the country wants to be a notary, right? Like when you walk in the door and you're trying to get to that decision maker, they already know what you're there for. You don't have to start explaining it to them. You need to let them know that you're a mobile signing agent and that you're dropping off your resume. But let's go a little bit deeper into this, okay? Title and escrow, no title and escrow. They don't need your opinions on it. They don't need to know what you think about it. They know a little bit about lending, but they don't work in lending. And they know a little bit about signing documents, but they're not a mobile notary either, right? Your job is to become an expert in your field. And I hate to plug training because, you know, we do Notary Stars and we train, but you need to be an expert in your particular sector of this industry. When you walk through that door, you need to be an expert at what you're doing. If you have a background in this industry, let's say that you're a realtor, if you had worked in title and escrow before, or you worked in lending before, I will tell you that it will work to your detriment to be too much of an expert as well. You need to be an expert at being a notary signing agent. What does that look like, right? What does a notary signing agent expert look like? Well, you definitely know how to execute a loan package. You definitely know when to call your assigning party, which if you're going direct, which would be your escrow officer. You already made that connection with them and said, hey, just in case I'm signing for you after hours, can I get your cell phone number? Is it okay to call you or text you if we run into a problem at the table? Most of them, if they're working with direct with you, will want that. Okay, so if they're hiring you direct, and that means that person places an order with you and you service that order however you agree that you contact them. But being an expert also means being polite, right? I know sometimes I can get high and mighty and I'm talking, you got to do it this way, but I also do it with a smile and I also do it with love in my heart. And I see hands going up, but we'll get to those once we get a little bit farther in this because we've got a lot to cover in the hour. So what does an expert look like? An expert knows their sector, what they're doing, and they're polite about it, okay? That's going to come back into another topic that I'm going to move on to. They know that you should know your job, okay? When you walk in that door, they're not looking to handhold you. And you guys have heard me say it, but tonight is really getting zeroed in on direct business. There is no title officer in the country that wants to hold your hand while you're getting started, unless they're your friend first, or maybe a relative. If you are a friend or a relative, great. You know, you're very lucky. You have much more to start with than I did. You could probably blow my signing agency out of the water one day. But I didn't have a hand holder when I started, and I didn't get anybody that hired me after I got started that wanted to hold my hand. They know when you walk in that door, when you're handing out your resume to them, that you know your job, or they are expecting you to know your job. So I know we have 145 people on the call, and I know how many views this gets. Before this goes too long, I know that people think, okay, they're talking about training. They're talking about training. They probably want money for training. That's right. I want to get money for training. I want to get money for my signing agency. I want money for everything that I do. But you want money for being a notary signing agent. And I'm telling you that training will help you get money as a signing agent because you will become an expert. They say it takes 10,000 hours to become an expert in anything. How many hours have you done this? How many hours are you training? You know, I'm going to plug it at Notary Stars. We keep that cost really low so you can train every single day. You can get in there with a live class. However you want to get to your 10,000 hours to become an expert, do it. But title and escrow, they go through a lot more than we do to get their jobs. They go through all, I mean, there's not an escrow officer in the country that didn't start as someone's assistant, if not at the front desk person, to get to where they are. You don't just walk into a title and escrow job. You can't just even graduate college and become an escrow officer. Even if you graduate college and you have a degree in something, you have to learn title and escrow through the trenches. So they need someone who's been through the trenches, whether it be training or whether it be experience or whether you got a part-time job as a title at a title agency to learn everything you need to know. This is another great topic, and I want to picture this walking in. You might walk in the door today and there could have been 100 signing agents that came in the door before you. And title and escrow know that there are a ton of bad signing agents out there. And I hate to say the word bad signing agents, especially when you can do this, you can promote it. I mean, you can become whatever you want to be, but I have to tell you, there are bad signing agents out there, not just coming from a signing agent's perspective, but there are bad signing agents out there that only took the NNA test. That's all they took. They're looking for hand-holding. They're trying to take the easy way to the 6 figures. They know when you walk through the door that you could be one of them. And I have to tell you, if you are one of them, you could cost them a client that costs them their job. When you go out and you do a signing or you perform a RON signing, we're going to start implementing the word RON here at Notary Stars because it is becoming a thing. When you walk through the door, they know you could be that one bad egg. And I have to say it, there are far more bad signing agents than there are good ones. You know, and I know that if you're here tonight, you're probably not one of the bad ones, but you got to learn to set yourself so far apart from the bad ones that when you walk in the door, how are you presenting information to them? You know, what makes them think that you are one of the best signing agents out there? What makes them think that you're going to care about their business? Well, I'll probably overlap with this because I'm starting to get a little bit more in my zone from looking at my notes. When you walk through the door, I see notaries all the time that come to Unlimited Ink, and I'm not pulling a signing agency in there, but I have a mind of an escrow officer sometimes. When notaries write me and they don't ask me like, how can they help me? They just want to get on my list. They just want business. They're not genuine, and I don't care about them. And so if you write me watching this replay saying that you want to work with me, you might want to come with, how can I work with you? At Unlimited Ink, we actually put up a filter, which is probably one of the first times that any signing agency in the country has ever done this. If you want to work with Unlimited Ink, even if you're a Notary Star, you have to take a once a month live onboarding to get even further up our list to let us know where you are, that sort of thing. Escrow officers probably too busy to do that, but you need to be able to go in and set yourself apart from being that kind of notary. And now let me tell you, you guys, I have to tell you, I hate to say it, but so many people came into this industry. And if you came into this industry because of the pandemic, because you lost your job and you took it seriously and you were training and you want to be, that go-to notary, you can be that. It's the notaries that just came in for a paycheck that they're trying to weed out right now. We are saturated. And I'll tell you, escrow officers have never seen as many people coming into the industry than they have at this moment. It's just ridiculous how many of us there are. I go back to this and I say, you can go back and you can actually find footage of this and piece it together. About 3.5 years ago, I did a video with Carol Ray, and I said, you know, this is how many notaries there are within 85013 within 25 miles that have their profiles filled out properly. That number was like 600. Just less than a year ago, I did a meeting with signing order and I said, okay, Casey, why can't you fix this? There's only 600 notaries within 25 miles. And he said, Ronnie, there's 1,800 notaries. And that's just with their profiles filled out. That's how many people the pandemic and social media, and you guys saw the email that went out recently. I pinpointed it. The cat's out of the bag about signing agencies, excuse me, about the notary industry. All these social media influencers are out there telling you, come in, make money, and they're all walking into your title agencies and they're getting your business. And you've got to set yourself apart from those people. Those people are looking for money and they get money from the clicks on YouTube. There's no secret to that. You look at somebody's YouTube video and they got over 45,000 clicks in the notary industry when there's only 75,000 of us really across the country that are actively working every day. They paid people to click on that ad and they are getting paid for those clicks. So be very careful. But those people that they're pulling in are walking into your title agencies because they're not nervous. The difference between someone watching this video and this platform is they're nervous to make a mistake. You want to be here. You want to succeed. The people that are being pulled in by this six-figure mentality and the YouTube videos, maybe you got pulled in by those, but if you're here, I guarantee you, we have a huge filter here. I don't care how much money we make. I really don't. If you're here, you're competing with those who don't care. So you've got to set yourself apart with those as someone who does care. And I'll mention this before I move on to my next point. I see the word side hustle in this industry a lot. And I'm trying to get the word out about this as well. This is not a side hustle. This is a career. I don't care if you do it as a side hustle. Neither does your escrow officer, but they don't want to hear the word side hustle about their job. Because when I think of a side hustle, I think of doing courier work for Uber, or I think of driving Lyft, or what have you, something you could turn on or off. But the stroke of your pen and the wheel of your stamp can change someone's life. Literally, it can make it easier or make it worse for long term. People can go to jail over what you do. You know, I mean, that's not a side hustle to me, and that's not something that we should promote as a side hustle. So if you're doing it as a side hustle or a part-time, you act like a full-timer and you walk in the door like you're going to be there. It's okay if you tell an escrow officer, I do this 3 days a week. I'm available Monday, Tuesday, Thursday. Great. Just make sure you know when you walk through the door that they're not thinking of their job as a side hustle. They're thinking of it as their career. This is how they feed their family. You know, you don't want someone coming in and making light of your situation. So don't make light of theirs. Another thing that they know when you walk through the door is you may be new. Because let's face it, you're just walking through their door and you've not been there before. So they might know you might be new, and that's okay. So how do you get through that conversation? You lean on your training. You show them a resume that no other notary has shown them before. You show them that you took loan signing systems. You show them you took Notary to Pro. You show them that you trained with Laura Beaver. Notice I'm putting Notary Stars last. I know what we have to offer, but I know that there's people on this call that took all of them, and I'm proud of you. You show them a resume that will blow them away. Okay? And I'm going to tell you this about the NNA test. If you've only taken that, I know that we have some guests on here tonight, and I applaud you for being here because you're stepping in the right direction. But escrow officers know that test. They take it too. They all are notaries, and they all sign their own signings in the office. The difference between them and us is that they're in an office with a branch manager that's probably been doing it for 20, 25 years. And if they have a question on a document that they can't answer, there's a manager there. And if they've been doing it 20, 25 years, they got a whole company protect them. We don't. We're an outside vendor. Okay, so they know that test, and I'm going to tell you right now, and I hate to say this on video, but I'm feeling passionate enough to say it. So send it over to them and see if they want to sue me. The NNA test is a joke. It really is. It's an ethical test. It's not, it doesn't go into what our training from other companies goes into. They don't, I feel like they failed us on so many levels. They've had, I wish 450,000 notaries were paying me $59 a year for my support line that I could only talk about notarial certificates. I wish that. I'd be so rich right now. You guys be watching me on YouTube, going to my pool and throwing parties, but that didn't work out for me. The NNA test is not where you should end your education. It's a good start. It's a good start. But for us, when they see you come in and that's all you have on your resume and you're brand new, they're like, because they know. They know that when you get to that one document and the signer says, well, where can I find my interest rate? That's the only question that you can answer, because that's about the only real question from that test that they give us. A lot of those questions are, what do you call it? Ethical questions. Like, what do I do if my husband wants to print my documents? Or what do I do if, you know, all these situations where someone's information could be exposed. I'm going to move on to another topic. I have to look at my notes because I feel like sometimes I go down a road with one topic. So we talked about relying on your education as a conversational guide. I'm going to talk about educating your clients. So when you come into a title office, and I have to use this as experience, I made about $15,000 a month off of a fidelity office. I didn't need to work anymore. In fact, you guys know how much I talk about. I love AmRock, and I did one today, and I have 2 tomorrow. And I do the runs for them now because I'm so busy here with Unlimited Ink and Notary Stars. But I had a fidelity office forever until they retired, and you guys have heard that story as well. But when hold on, I want to make sure I go down the right road with this. When I first started working that fidelity office, I didn't say to the escrow officer, well, that one's 25 more miles. That one's 15 miles. She just called me and said, are you available? And I remember the first time I actually said, well, that one's in Gold Canyon, and I was on Peoria. And she was like, I don't care. Can you do it or not? I give you too much business for you to negotiate. Never ask again. Okay. These fidelity, I had 2 different escrow officers that used me out there. Never did I talk to them until about 6 months in, when I only had 1 file, and I was like, okay, this one's about an hour and a half. You've got to pick and choose your right time to have that distance, time, location. When you first start with an escrow officer, she just knows she needs the order filled, or he just knows that they need the order filled. They don't need your input on time, distance, printing. That is really your problem. I mean, really is. You can either take the order or you don't. I advise you, if you have a local escrow officer and they want to send you 2 hours away and they're giving you 15 orders, they're not that far away, shut your mouth. Take the 2 hour away, make them happy, because there will be another notary that comes in that won't mind taking that 2 hour away order and coming back and making no money off of that one order when they made all the money off of 15. And I love you guys, but I see it all the time. It's a really good way in the door too. If you have that one you've been working and you're waiting on their business and they say, hey, I have an order tomorrow at whatever, and you start negotiating on the first order, it might be your last. They know how far it is. They know what they're asking you to do. They know that they're trying to get a deal, but you help them get the deal, and then you're the go-to notary. You know, it works the same with signing agencies. I promised we wouldn't talk about that, but it does. And I preach that to you about signing agencies too, about how to get your foot in the door. Tonight, we're talking about direct business. That's even more so important. When you have that first phone call from that first escrow officer that you've been marketing to, courting, you want their business, and then you want to make it difficult for them to schedule with you. I'm telling you, you guys should see some of the stuff I pull on the phone at Unlimited Ink. I paid $1,800 for a closing once, and we got that client's business And we've made way more money off that. I put a notary on a plane once, flew them from Long Beach to Vegas and beat FedEx there. And we have their business. You know, I know some of you can't fork out that kind of money to do it, but I will do anything for a client at Unlimited Ink to show them. I mean, when that notary showed up at 9:30 and FedEx was coming in right behind them for the 10 o'clock, they called me and said, we'll never use anyone else. You know, and I knew I was doing what I was doing when I did that, but that's the kind of thing that you want to do in the beginning. You educate your clients over time after you show them what you can do. After 6 months, say, Linda, you know, it's really hard for me to go that hour and a half on those orders. Could I bump up the fee? Can we pad something in? Then you have that conversation with them. This is a great one that I want to talk about tonight, and I think everyone should hear this. And I'm just going to read my note before really quickly. Okay. When you walk through the door, they know you're hungry. And that's not a good look on anybody. When you walk in the door and I talked about this, when you want the business before you ask, how are you doing? I went to Paris when I was 26. I was so lucky. I worked at the High Museum of Art for 6 years, and I had studied French for 7 years. And I really all my life wanted to go to Paris. And you guys should hear my Paris story one day. We should do a whole episode on that. It was an amazing trip. They could make a TV show out of it. But the first lesson I learned when I walked into Paris, I had a terrible first day in Paris. And I walked into a convenience store and I needed a cigarette. I was like, I need a cigarette. And I had walked through horse crap on the street, and I had been sweating all day because it was summer in Paris, and it was just a horrible experience. And I walked in and I looked at the we don't call them gas stations there because there's no gas station in Paris like that. You go to like a boutique, and I walked in and I said, I'll take a pack of, you know, Marlboro Reds. And she said, excuse me? You come into my store and you don't even say hello to me? I don't sell you anything. Get out of my store. And I literally went outside and cried because I'd had such a bad day. It's a funny story if you heard the beginning of it. But when you show up and you're hungry, it's not a good look. Start your conversations with, what do you need help with? How can I help you? What do you need from a mobile signing agent? I say feed yourself before you go in. You know, you don't go to the grocery store hungry because what does that happen? You run up the bill. Don't go into a title agency hungry for money. I promise you, if you go in hungry, you're not going to get business. And I will tell you something. This might be part of another point, but I'm going to bring it up now. It amazes me, and I don't want to say it the wrong way because I don't want to offend anybody. Retirees, they make so much money in this industry and have so much ability to walk in and get a direct client more than anybody else in this industry. And I've thought about it. Is it their experience in life that really lands them the job? And I think can't be 100% it, because there are some really experienced younger folks out there. What I think it is they're not hungry. They don't need the money. They're not saying anything that it takes to get that business. They see you when you walk through the door. They know you wouldn't be there if you didn't want the job. But when you overstep, how are you? What can I do for you? How can I make your job easier? How can I make your job better? What can I do to make your clients happy? I think retirees walk in with this mentality. They've been there, they've done that. And even if they're not trained to do that, I think they innately walk in and they don't live in this mentality that we're in now. And Miss Beth told me a story earlier, and I want to ask Miss Beth if she can help me with this. because I think it's great to hear it from her perspective. Miss Beth, are you with us right now?
I am.
So can you share with us, when we were talking about this earlier, can you share with us the story that you talked about with Burger King and how this looks? And I think this really relates.
Well, I'll be dating myself here. I'll put myself in that seniors category, but I was telling Ronnie earlier, for some reason, the last 20 years, we've been handed things and fed so much so easily that we forget where the genuine customer service comes from. And I told him the story about when Burger King was a brand new company, when I was a kid, opened up a couple of blocks down the street from us. When you went into Burger King and you asked for a hamburger, hold the onions, don't put any mustard on it. They would look at you like you had three eyes and say, well, we can't do that. You get what you get. This is what you're ordering, you get it that way. Burger King subsequently changed their whole advertising platform and their whole method of doing business. And they started letting people change what they wanted on their hamburgers. So they weren't just restricted to ordering off the menu anymore. If it came with mustard, lettuce, and tomatoes and you didn't want that, it used to be you couldn't get it. No customer service, this is what we got, take it or leave it. They instead built an empire on have it your way. Do you remember that slogan? Have it your way at Burger King. And they were the first fast food restaurant where you could walk in and say, don't put that on there, put this on there. And that's that customer service, that business mentality that enables you to pivot on a dime. If they say, I want this from a notary signing agent, even though you've never done that before in your life, I've never had a document that had that on there. You're not going to call them and say, this is ridiculous. You're going to say to yourself, that's what they want. And it's their choice to make those restrictions or requests of you. And it's up to you as a good service provider to find a way to accommodate it.
Sorry, my dogs went off. They heard something.
Uh-huh.
Thank you for sharing that, Miss Beth. And, guys, Burger King is definitely not irrelevant now. I mean, I've been there in the last year, but let's bring it up to speed with something that you may relate a little bit more to. Starbucks. How many of you have been to Starbucks in the last year? Yep, I know I have. I mean, everybody kind of has. I don't know what they put in that stuff, but everybody has to kind of have it. Even if you don't like coffee, they got something for you. And here's the thing about Starbucks is nobody orders what's on that menu. Nobody. You get it exactly custom. I actually joke with them sometimes. Why do they even put up a menu? And she's like, it's more like a guiding compass. I've joked with them, like, why do you put up the menu if no one's going to follow it? And in this industry, you have to think you want it your way, right? Like, you want to give your clients what they want. You got to customize for each client, each signing, all of those things. That's one of the most important things that you guys, they know when you walk through the door if you're going to be easy to work with or hard to work with. And I'm going to tell you that being genuine, you can see it. I can tell when a notary calls me and they want work. And if they're genuinely concerned about the industry or if they're just blowing smoke. And we all know where they're trying to blow smoke. Got to be careful because it's being recorded. But I can tell when they call and they're truly concerned about the success of Unlimited Ink and how can they help. And do we, they may ask, do you have business in my area? But when you do have business in my area, my favorite notary question ever was, if you have business in my area, how? This is why I got Travis to start doing a monthly onboarding. When they said, if you do have business in my area, how can I be of help? And I thought, That's the most brilliant question. We have no business in your area and you want to know if you ever do, how can you help us? Well, let me create an entire onboarding session just for you. That will be a very impressive question and it'll be genuine. It's genuine if you pay attention. You know, if you get a meeting in person and they say, hey, let's talk about this, or you want to talk about this, let's service how you're going to service the area, pull out a paper and pen. When I go to clients, I know you guys see me in t-shirts a lot and I use the same t-shirts for these shows. I have a lot of different cool clothes, but I normally wear these because I'm comfortable. And I'll be honest with you, I get nervous when I'm on camera, so I sweat a lot. So I've just resided to wearing a cool t-shirt for the episodes. But when you go to these meetings, pull out a paper and pen. You know, you should see the emails that Travis and I do for clients when an issue goes wrong or when we're first onboarding. Anything that they want, we put it in writing, we regurgitate it back to them. This is what we're going to do. We acknowledge that to you. You want to make sure that when you meet with those clients that you are taking note of what they want from you. Now, this one is going to scare a lot of you, okay? This is something that they know that you don't know that they know. And I'm going to try to read it verbatim. They know when you are late to an assignment. They know when the signers take too long to read. And they know that there's rush hour traffic on a rush order. But they also know that you should be communicating when these things come up in front of you to prevent you from giving the service that you're promising them. Okay, they already know there was rush hour, but then they can blame it on you. And they know that. You can say, hey, Linda, I have to tell you, on the way to the signing, I had every intention of being there at 7. I left at 4:30, but there was an accident. They already know. They can look it up on the news. They probably heard about it on their drive home. You want to over communicate to your clients. They know that you have the ability to make this communication and they are expecting it of you. And I have to tell you, one of the biggest problems that I see in this industry is that notaries don't communicate. They will take it upon themselves to say, well, I have another signing. I have to drive there. You can take 1 minute and send 3 sentences. You really have to know how to communicate. They already know what's going on. They already know the hurdles. They just need to hear it from you. Why are you going to be 5 hours with your scan bags? Why are you doing this? A lot of times, a lot of these things are forgiven. It's when you don't communicate that you're not forgiven. You know, even if they don't want to hear it, you should make a log. I had one client that said, Ronnie, I really don't care. As long as you get the job done. I said, okay, I really don't. I'm glad that you don't care. But for my record purposes, I am always going to send an email to you with a recap of whatever happened so that you always have a record for you, because you know how they know you're late? The customer is going to complain. That's the number one reason, that the customer is going to let them know. And what a lot of you don't know, and I'll tell you this, most title agencies, even if they use a signing agency, have an email that goes out to a signer to review their signing experience after you leave. And you guys have probably heard me talk about this in training, where I make a joke saying, if you get a survey about how your experience is going, my name was Ronnie. If you have a good review, and if you have a bad one, my name was Mark. I always make up a name to tell them to review someone else. But when you're going to get that review one way or another, and they're going to know. And we hear about it as a signing agency, usually after the fact, and we decide, should we tell you or not tell you? If it's really bad, then we tell you, so you can get better. This is my last point, and then I have some things to talk about. They know you're going to make mistakes. Some of them may not be happy about it. Some of them may not be great about it, and that may not be the client for you if they overreact to something. You know, you have to be able to take some things with a grain of salt, but they know you're going to make mistakes. But they also know that you know that it's important to fix them. If you're a notary that when you call for a mistake and you say, I've got 5 signings, I can't do it, remember this, all your future signings, they can get rescheduled. But if you have a closing that you delay, you can get sued. Number one, the clients can sue you that you signed. And number two, they can lose their job over what you've done. And that kind of review on you you'll never recover from it, especially if an escrow officer posts that you did that. So when you're making yourself set apart, not only, I'll tell you, I had a call one day, this is probably about 5 years ago. I was in Peoria. The Fidelity office that I worked at was on Tempe Town Lake. For anybody that wants to double check how far that is, that's a hike, especially at 3:20 in the afternoon. They can record up till 4:45. She sends me a picture and there was no stamp on the deed. And it was notarized by me. And she said, I need you here right now. And I sent her a picture of my odometer at 120. And I guarantee you that I was running every light, and I had to be back in Avondale at another time, which I could have gone straight down and gotten to Avondale from Peoria. But I sent her a picture at 120. I was like, this is just important to me as it is to you. I'll be there. And I got there. Luckily, I don't know how I did it. I think I sprouted wings that day. I could have just said, can you record tomorrow? And I see a lot of notaries doing that, but the answer is no. If you can make it happen, you need to make it happen. And of course, I'm not encouraging all of you to drive 120 miles an hour. I can't believe a Dodge Caliber could actually get up to 120 miles an hour, but it can. It really can if you give it enough speed. If you give it enough time to get up there, it'll get up there. And I don't want you guys to kill yourselves for that, but they know you're going to make mistakes. You need to prove to them and show them that you will be there for them when a mistake happens and correct it. And I'm going to quote Carol Ray, the late Carol Ray. She always said, it's not the mistakes that we make that people remember, it's how quickly and professionally that we remedied them. Now that was paraphrased, but it's probably the best wisdom that we have. Well, she's got tons of wisdom. It's one of the best wisdoms that we have handed down to us from a previous generation. And keep in mind, Carol wasn't just passing down from 10 years ago. She was passing down from 20 plus years ago. Where we are now, coming back full circle to the conversation of we live in a generation now where everything we kind of expect. And we're working, some of us may be working with those younger than us that expect too much of us. And some of us may be part of that generation expecting everyone else to meet our needs. We've got to find a way to close that gap and be service professionals. And if you guys, as Notary Stars, I did an entire series on customer service champions this year. If you haven't seen that yet, please incorporate that into your training because it expands upon that as well. So I'm going to ask you something. You don't have to chime in it and answer, but these are some of the things that I see in marketing. And I want to ask you, what sounds better? I give your signers a fast turnaround, or I'll give your signers the best experience ever. Which one of those sounds better when you walk through the door? Yeah, number two. I'll give your signers the best experience ever. You're not promising a fast turnaround because they may not need a fast turnaround. You're going to give them the best experience that they could possibly have. You're going to give them the best possible signing. You're going to go through the documents with them. And if they need to read, they're going to read. That's not your fault. And you can't make them read faster. Fast is not always the best option in this industry. Doing it right and doing right by the signers, which is what you're hired to do, is the best option. And then I'm going to make my closing remark here, and then we'll open it up for questions. I'm so proud of myself for getting this under an hour because you guys know I can go on and on and on, but I want to leave time for questions tonight. You've heard Travis say it this way, and I know he's on the call tonight. He always says, be a problem solver, not a problem creator. I'm going to say it this way tonight. Make peace with late documents and become a team member for the title agencies. And remember, you need their business. They aren't trying to hurt you in any way, and they're also getting the short end of the stick. So put yourself in their shoes and remember, you want their business. You need their business. Okay? Now we're ready for some questions, guys. I'm so proud that I made it at 1 minute over 45.
That's awesome. Hey, I have for a recap for you, Ronnie, and then a question for myself at the very outset. So this is what they know that we don't know they know. They know when we're hungry. They know when we're desperate. They know when we're new. They probably also know if we lie about how many signings we've done or over exaggerate how we can fit into their niche, their need for service. So having that, in light of that, if you are going to be walking into a title company, how would you go in there enthusiastically enough without overshooting that mark? How to do it professionally and keep it clean and honest?
Really great question. So first of all, yeah, it's really not a great idea to overshoot how many signings you've done. First of all, if you start claiming the wrong signing agencies, or the names, they can go double check that information. I to this day, we just got hired by a credit union here in Arizona, and they asked me for 3 references after another big client that's their client referred them to us. Still wanted 3 references. They didn't call and check them, I'll tell you, because it came too fast for them to call all those busy people and get references. But as I said earlier, you want to lean on your training. When you go in and you're brand new, let them know. Calculate your hours from every training course. I think Notary to Pro has about 12 to 14 hours of footage before you take the test. Have those certifications with you. Give a short blurb about what those are in your resume. You have 150 hours accessible here at Notary Stars, and we can verify your training. You can have them call us to verify that you've taken the training that you've taken. You have your membership number. It's right up under your photo inside your thing. And Loan Signing Systems gives a certificate. I don't know if Bill gives a certificate or not. You might be able to attest to that. But if you've taken his training, you can calculate the hours and say, I took this as well. Anything that you've taken, if you take Laura Bureau's state training, add that to your resume. Lean on your training and be honest about how many signings you've done. 150 hours of training is a lot of training. You can equate that to almost 150 signings because they take about an hour. If you've actually done all the training. Now, I will tell you this, if you put me on a resume at Notary Stars, you better have done the training because I can pull up and see if you hit every module in there. And I will tell them, well, they're about 50% of the way there. I have had some that have tried to push the bar, and I don't endorse people that don't take it all the way. When the notaries have actually calculated those hours, I am very happy and to give recommendations. And there's not a notary that's ever asked one that I say no to, but I do ask that you actually have done the training, and I can verify that. So don't put us down for a review, because people do call me and email and ask to verify certain information, and I have no problem. But you can lean into your training when you're brand new. If you've done 50 signings, that's not a low number to a local escrow officer. You've done 50 and you did all this training. That's a lot. So don't be afraid to lean on your training to get you off the ground. And even when you're brand new, really experienced, having that on your resume as an experienced notary looks great. I've done 10,000 signings and I took all this stuff because I want to stay up to date. That's a hireable candidate right there.
You've got a question in the gallery from Anya, if you're ready to take that now. Anya, do you want to unmute and ask your question?
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
ma'am.
Excellent. So I have a two-part question for going direct. How often do you visit the title office in person? Of course, this assuming it's relatively local versus calling. Visiting.
I am a big fan. If you can walk through the door, you need to make time to do it.
Like weekly, monthly?
How often do you go back after you've been one time?
Yeah.
I have been known to go back every week.
Okay.
It depends on how bad you want the business and how well received you are. I had an agency tell me, we are never going to use you. And I have their business today because persistent Ronnie Lee just kept going back. You may not go back every week if they say we're never going to use you. Every week might be a little too much, but every month, I definitely think a 4-week follow-up, that's almost getting too far out. You don't want them to forget you. And do you need to bring cookies and all of these things? No, you don't need to bring anything. You need to bring your resume, because if you were getting hired at a job at McDonald's, you wouldn't bring them anything for the job interview. You'd come dressed in your best and you'd have your resume in hand and you'd be professional. And that's all you need to sell yourself, is the genuine you that you are. You don't need cookies. You don't need to wow them. I'm tired of buying cookies for people who don't hire me. You know who I buy cookies for now? People who hire me.
Okay.
Thank you. You get
I
cookies.
have to tell you too, I was in title and escrow for a few years, and all of those business cards and I don't know, flyers, information packets that the notaries would bring in, we would funnel that. We wouldn't even look at it. We would funnel it to the reception desk. Say, just put this in a file, and if we need her, we'll find her. We never referenced that file unless that notary came back and came back and came back. That showed that tenacity, that persistence, that need to pursue something and make it happen. So knowing that, that would be the notary we would hire, because if we had a problem on the file, we knew they weren't going to give us pushback for having to go back out and pick up a signature or a date or any of that stuff. Those were the ones that we hired. Not everybody who walked in the door, it just went in a file. And sometimes it didn't make it that far. Sometimes it went in to file 13, right? If they weren't somebody that presented well or was very nice or listened more than they talked, that file, the information they would bring in, we'd eat the donuts and throw the resume in the trash, because just that first impression is so important. But those notaries who came in time after time after time, regardless of whether they brought us anything, listen, we were all suffering from not enough exercise and too much food. We didn't need another bagel, right? So that wasn't the kicker. It was a good presentation, personally, professional, tenacity, coming back time and time again. That's what did it for us.
Excellent. Thank you.
I'll throw in one other thing about this, and this is something that I learned the hard way. When you are visiting clients, if you are a smoker, wear a patch that day. I'm sorry, but if you go in and you smell like smoke, non-smokers do not like that smell. And even if you think you've covered it up, you do not. And I am a smoker, and there's not a person on this planet, unless they know me personally outside of work, that will tell you that I know he's a smoker. Now, if I go to a conference, it's a different thing because that's an all-day event. But when I go into an office, I'm in a patch. And, you know, I've had my struggles with quitting and not quitting and quitting for a while and starting back. But if you are a smoker, take words from me. There's not a client that's, I learned this the hard way. There's not a client that's hired me where I walked in the door smelling like a cigarette. You can wear a patch for a day if you really want business, or just go visit clients the first time wearing the patch and then run out and do it another one the next day. But you can make it a full day on a patch and then have your cigarettes after. If I can do it, anybody can do it. We have another question from Miss Julia Marshall. Actually, Miss Julia, before you go, there was one question in from Miss Boyd in the chat that I really want to address. She said, are the free trainings acceptable? Really great question. It depends on what they are. You know, if you watch our free trainings on Notary Stars, are they acceptable? I'm not going to endorse it. I believe in our free trainings on Notary Stars, but I will tell you, I built them all to pull all of you in here. Welcome. But they were all a marketing ploy. They were meant with care and with love, but they're not endorsable. They're not sit down and go through the training. Now, if you took a free training on reverse mortgages and you get like a certificate, maybe that's training. And I'm gonna let Miss Wanda undo her mic right there so we can continue because she raised her hand. The free trainings, if you took a free training on a special certification that you might take, that might be good as well. Miss Wanda, did you want to clarify any more?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, I've basically been a notary for over 10 years, and I really haven't had any direct training. It's just by research and listen to this Zoom or what have you. That's how I've learned a lot. So that's why I presented that question. How would I revise my resume showing that I have the experience and not necessarily the training?
Well, here's the thing, Miss Wanda, and this is really great. I'm so glad you're here tonight. Thank you for being here, especially thank you for this question. So you've learned by trial and error and you're doing good as a notary, but now you're in a market full of notaries who are competing with each other.
Mm-hmm.
So when I look down at your resume, if that's the only thing I get to see about you, and all I see is the NNA in 10 years, how do I know that the notary that took all of the trainings that are out there are not going to be better than you just because you've been doing it for 10 years? If you went to a doctor tomorrow and you needed to have, let's just say they needed to cut you open for some reason, and the doctor said, well, I need to cut you open to do this. I've been a doctor for 20 years. And you say, okay, I'm going to get a second opinion. And the next doctor says, I've been a doctor for 20 years and I've took training every year to make sure I do this right. Which one are you going to hire?
The one that was constantly taking the training.
Exactly. Because that's a life and death decision. And we go back to something I mentioned earlier. The stroke of your pen allows people to move around hundreds of thousands of dollars, take control of other people's lives, and take children out of the country. What we do is really serious. And so beefing up that resume in a saturated market, really important.
Okay. So would you suggest that I start taking some training?
I would start at the place with your, if you've been in the industry as long as you say, I would say start at the, if I gave a notary a perfect journey, I always do it in price point. I would start at the NNA. I would get a notary to pro because they still have a bigger following than Notary Stars. That is completely honest.
Mm-hmm.
Notary Stars, Bill Soroka Sign and Thrive, loan signing system. And I would fit Laura Bewer's state training in there. There's a lot available. If I don't mention it, I don't know about it. If you ever want me to review something, I will look at their websites and who they are, but I don't review training courses anymore because I'm a competitor with them.
Mm-hmm.
I like to consider myself a friendly competitor, but like Judy Lawrence, I took her course and paid for it because that's not really what I'm doing in my wheelhouse, and I wanted to learn more about it. But I don't go out and actively get in other people's groups or anything because I don't want them to think I'm stealing their ideas or how we do things, and everybody reserves that right. But yeah, I do think that you should take more training and add it to your resume, especially if you want more business, because you're competing with people that are taking those trainings.
Okay, because I'm considering taking your training because I'm learning so much.
Well, we will be welcoming you, and anybody here that's a Notary Star will tell you, you'll get a good education.
Miss Wanda, I just wanted to say one other thing too on education. You have to really put a lot of stock in your education, and think of it this way. Once you've been a notary for 10 years, you feel like you're a real professional. You could do it all. You've seen it all. You've done it all. But if you compare that to a pro football player, he doesn't tell his coach that he doesn't have to come to practice because he's already a pro football player, right? I don't need any of that training. I don't need any of that exercise. And for us, it'd be exercising our brains, right? Because I'm already a pro. So we really need to always have that foundation of education, continuing education behind us all the time. And things change, right? So we got to stay up with what's going on at the time, or we'll get left behind in the dust.
Okay, well, thank you guys.
Thank you, Ms. Wanda. We appreciate your question. We're going to go on to Miss Julia. While Miss Julia is getting geared up to ask her question, if you guys have questions, go ahead and raise your hand virtually to get into the queue. I do know that there's people posting in the chat, but we really like it on here because people can watch the replay and hear your question and hear the answer much more so than the chat. We try to pull them out, but Miss Julia, go ahead.
I am about to do my marketing to title companies. I did a couple months ago, walked in about 4 of them, but then I didn't really follow up. So I know I need to follow up after I do start marketing to them. And I'm still working part-time at my regular job. And that's what's been holding me back from getting any signings is I was only available after 5 and just wasn't getting a lot of, bings on my phone or anything. So when I start marketing, my current employer actually is giving me the grace to, if I have an appointment during 9 to 12 when he wants me there, he'll let me go do the appointment because, I'm going to be quitting there anyway. So anyway, I was wondering when I go in there to talk to them, if I, introduce myself, obviously give them my credentials and resume and say, I'm new. I've only done 3 real signings, but I will be one of your best notaries that you're ever going to see because this is what my passion is. And this is where I'm going to put the rest of my career into. Does that sound like something that would be good to say?
You don't need to start with I'm new.
Okay.
If they ask, how long have you been doing this? You can say, well, I'm new. But you can let them know, I'd like to be one of the best. I'd like to come in here and give your signers the best experience that they could possibly have. I would lead with that. You don't have to start with you're new. If they say, have you done signings before? Be honest with them and lean on your training, but you don't need to lead with I'm new.
All right.
No one here that listens to this call or watching the replay, do not start the conversation with what I'm new. You wouldn't start any other job that way. They know you're new. They're going to learn you and they're going to learn together, but they expect you to have some sort of qualification for the job. So you don't start with I'm new.
Right. Do you think they all know these different training certifications?
Some of them do. So I spoke to the American Escrow Association and gave a presentation back in April, and I highlighted some of the most important trainings. Some of them do know, some of them are still learning about it. I'm getting more involved in the escrow officer stage from Unlimited Inc. and Notary Star standpoint, but you can educate your clients on your resume, what the training has to offer and what you got out of it in a short little blurb, just like you would any degree.
All right. Sounds great. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that question.
And Miss Christina, do you want to unmute and ask your question?
Hi, it says you're not allowing me to unmute.
Yep, you're unmuted.
We can hear you.
Okay. I just wanted to know if Notary Stars provides resume review services or any kind of resume help to prepare a resume specifically geared for featuring that training?
We do in our marketing course. Our marketing course is a separate course that you have to finish your training at Notary Stars first. Reason being is I don't want to teach people to market my brand of notaries. And I call it my brand because I have a vision of how people will see us. Once you're ready, you can join that course, and we definitely do go over resumes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
That was a great question. And then Linda. Linda, do you want to go ahead and unmute and ask your question?
Answered my question with that one, because I was wondering the type of resume. If you've done a lot of things so I've been doing, I came back to doing notary within this last year, but I did it before, like in 2003, and then I did a lot of things in between, and then I'm back last year. So how would you, but he just answered that question, so.
Okay, perfect. All righty then. Natasha, go ahead.
Oh, there we go. Okay. Hi, guys. Okay. I had a question about, hold on, my brain just left. Okay, it's back. I had a quick question, like with my commission. Now, I was commissioned from, what was it, 2004 to 2008. And then I kind of let it go, but then I picked it back up. So in between there, I was doing like a scheduler. So instead of what I put down that I did, what I just put down like 5 years of notary experience, or would I just leave that entire time? I'm kind of confused on that, and I don't want to, I don't want to put something down and they're like, well, did you do it or not?
No, you should be honest about your experience. If you have a lapse in your commission, if it's like a month or two, why would you put it? I had a lapse in my notary commission this year because of COVID. They just couldn't process the application long enough or quick enough. So I would put down the honest amount of time that you've actually been a notary. So if you took 4 years off, I would not calculate that 4 years. And in that 4 years, I would, if you were a scheduler for like a notary company, then you could put that in there. But I would be honest about my experience and only lean on the actual time that you calculated that you have been working as a notary.
Okay, that's what I needed. Thank you so much, Ronnie. And and what were you saying about the resume review, like helping with the resumes?
So in my marketing course, I will go over resumes. I did add an additional day of the week. So on Thursdays, I have additional hour. You can bring anything from a resume to go over. We go over resumes in the marketing course. We teach a lot in that marketing course, but you can bring your resume and have it for review in there as well.
Oh, perfect. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
And then Michelle Gordon, if you are ready, you can go ahead and unmute and ask your question.
Hi, thanks for taking my call. My question actually, what is the cost for your marketing course? I am a member of Notary Star. Do I have to pay an additional fee? I'm not sure.
So yes, the marketing course is $24.95 additional each month. Is a separate subscription, and you get 2 sessions a week with me. One is recorded and one is a general mentorship. And I do it on Tuesdays and Thursdays. You can look at everything that we've gone over so far if you're interested, and you do need to have completed through at least module 6 at Notary Stars in order to apply for the course.
And how long will the course be? Is it a 6 weeks, 3 weeks, or is it just a continuous
It's
thing
continuous.
like I do the monthly Notary Stars, just continuous?
It is continuous, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And then Joyce.
Hello.
Hi there.
Hi. I have a question. I am in Georgia. which is one of the strictest attorney states that there is.
Yes, and what part of Georgia are you in before we go any further?
I'm in Macon. I'm in Middle Georgia.
I'm from LaGrange, Georgia originally. And
Oh, okay.
when I lived in Atlanta, people would always ask me because they knew Macon more than LaGrange because Macon's a much bigger city. But I would tell them, you know, I'm from about an hour here at 90 miles an hour, which is about the same distance to Macon. But I've been over to Macon quite a lot. Now go with your question. But I heard Georgia coming out of your mouth before you said this.
Okay. You know, this is the strictest state as far as direct marketing is concerned. So what strategies or tips would you give to, you know, to proceed in trying to direct market?
This is a really great question. And, you know, I don't want to give too much away because I do talk about this with our marketing students that are in attorney only closing states, but you can market to attorneys. And, you know, just to give away a little bit, we talked about this actually this week. When you're an attorney only closing state, you can market directly to attorneys. And one thing is that if their clients can't make it in the office, I know for a fact from Georgia, I've done tons of Georgia closings here in Arizona. They can do a conference call and you can be the notary at the table.
Okay.
You can market to those attorneys if the clients aren't able to get in and they can't get to their clients, you can still deploy and go for them. And that's a really great angle for you to work in an attorney only closing state.
Okay, so basically just go direct to attorneys instead of title or
Attorney, well, you can, you know, you can work for anybody as a notary, but if you want to work in the real estate sector, you need to
Right.
look for real estate attorneys, those that are doing closings.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Thank you so much. I'm proud to hear from you. My Southern comes out when I talk to somebody. All right, we got Mr. Laverne up next. Mr. Laverne, how are you feeling? Hold on, we got to get that mute going.
There we go. Okay, sorry about that. My mouse is giving me hectic feelings tonight. I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. I've been back out on the road. And to answer the question about the resumes that earlier that was asked, there are a couple of good websites to go to. Resume for Notaries is one of them. They have all the new standard type notaries, resumes. You fill in the blanks and create your own resume that way. And it comes out very professional. You can get it for free. And if you subscribe to it, then it's, I think, $39.95. One of the other things Joyce just mentioned, because I'm also commissioned in Georgia, I have done several loan closings in Georgia. Yes, and that has been with attorneys present or on a conference call. So you can do, like Ronnie said, you can market to those attorneys. You can also do direct marketing in your GNW, your general notary work, even though you can't collect big money, but you can get enough customers that way.
Thank you, Mr. Laverne. How are you feeling?
Like I said, I'm doing better. Been out of the hospital now for about 10 days and I'm kicking up the dust.
Well,
question for you, Ronnie.
I'm glad to see you here tonight. Go ahead with your question.
All right. Are you going to be going to the conference this weekend in Norfolk?
No.
You're going to miss something really good. I'm getting an award.
Well, I applaud you for that. I'm not traveling right now. As most of you know, I tried to go to the NNA conference this year, but I've got some issues with my back that are going on and wasn't able to make it. I know you guys see me from here up, but I actually from the waist down don't work right sometimes. But it wasn't my year to travel. It's not my year to travel right now, but I do have a doctor's appointment on Friday that might help me keep moving for about another 6 months. I think we lost the next question that was coming up.
Yeah.
I think we had a Miss Carol that was up there, and I know her from Arizona.
Yeah, and I don't see her.
Miss Carol, did you have a question that you wanted to do? She had her hand raised for a little bit. I'm gonna send a ask to unmute because she was next on there.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, great. I'm just wondering, what do you feel about not business cards, but websites, and how detailed, if you do have a website?
Oh, that's definitely one of my marketing course questions. You definitely need to make sure that your website works properly. Website will do you no good unless it's properly SEO'd. So if you have a website that you've built, my marketing course will definitely help you. You can definitely go out and double check me on this in the Arizona zip codes, go test them all and see how many unlimited ink come up for. I definitely know what I'm talking about when it comes to SEO.
Okay. I had one before, I just let it drop since I'm just doing just signing service a little bit, just kind of part-time, but I just haven't re-upped it, and I'm just wondering what you thought about that, but it makes sense, of course, to have one, so.
If you properly SEO it, it will work wonders for you.
Okay. I will check out your site. I mean, your marketing class. I'm going to do that anyways, but
Awesome.
thank you.
Good to see you here. I remember you from when I was first getting unlimited ink off the ground here. So
Well, I know, and I talked to you once on the phone, and I just, whatever. But yeah, I know, I've always admired you, and I actually gave you your information to a man that was asking me how I got into this, and I said, well, here's the information, and this is the best guy to talk to, or his company and Notary Stars. So anyways,
I'm glad to see you here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, guys, we have 2 more questions and then we're gonna cut it for tonight. We have Lori Medley. I think I say Medley. I think I add an E in there when I say it sometimes.
Medley, like a medley of vegetables or a medley of song. So I just recently, the last like 2 weeks or so, I was contacted for my Google page, a realtor who contacted me to do a seller's package. It was about a 25-minute ride, not really far, and it was an older couple. And I found that, I don't know what it is with me, I'm really patient with older people or something. So I'm there and I'm doing the signing, and all the paperwork was incorrect in the way they had their names spelled. So I had just, I mean, I'm at this point where I want to market. I want to at least get this real estate company or the realtor to use me again. So I just basically said, you know what, just have them. I kind of like took charge, I guess. I'm like, let's get the title company online. They will get new documents out, and I'll come back tomorrow at no cost. So I did it for free, and I came back the next day. The realtor came in with donuts and coffee and everything, and I commenced to doing the signing. I scanned everything back from their home, and went on my way. So next thing I know, it's like 2 days later, they're contacting me and stating that they had missed a proceeds page and they wanted me to go back out. Well, this time the wife is now in the hospital and he is back in his home. So I had to now go to 2 different places. So I know that I want to market to them, but I didn't want to do that one for free. So I did give them a price. They asked me, they'll pay me whatever I wanted. So now I'm sitting there thinking, well, what do you do for something like that? What do you charge for whatever you want to do it? So I just basically told them $75 because it was to go into the hospital, do all that, then drive to his house, get him done, and then scan it back, all that. So in any case, I got a phone call from that realtor a couple of days later for a job that was about an hour away. And the title company was actually local. So I'm sitting here thinking, again, it's time to market to some folks, or just to basically show them what I have. Because my training with you, Ronnie, I always feel like I'm more superior than most of the signing agents and or general notary people out there, because I don't know, I just take my job very seriously. And I know the clients appreciate my attention to detail and professionalism that I primarily learned on this site.
Miss Lori, I want to tell you, if I were you, I would market to that realtor because it sounds like he's working with multiple title agencies.
I got another call from them for a second signing.
I would market to that realtor and see if he can get you a meeting with them. I do have to say this though, because everyone's listening.
Mhm.
Even with our training, none of us are superior. And I know that you didn't mean it that way.
No, I didn't.
I can feel, I feel the love from that, but I just want to make sure that we all know that no one ever gets to a superior level because I've been humbled too many times in my life. And I know what you meant by that, but I want to make sure that anyone else on the call doesn't feel like someone is more superior just because they took our
Well,
training.
no, that's not what I meant. And I was going to back that up based on a signing that I had today. That was a small business loan that I did today. And I did make an error. I missed the signature and I missed the date. So there were two things that I missed on. Well, I didn't actually miss the date. I asked them about it. No one got back to me on that. So it didn't get taken care of. So I did miss the signature. I did contact them as I was sending it back to them, advising them that I missed the signature, contacted the borrowers. They were more than happy to oblige me whenever they were back from work. And I opened my schedule, made sure that I didn't put anything in there because it's like you said, it's not the mistake, it's how you handle the mistake. So I handled the mistake. I got an email back from the signing company stating that the client stated they were so impressed with my professionalism. Again, that comes from learning from you guys. The professionalism afforded me an additional $50 on that signing. I'm just sitting here saying like, wait, what did I do that even, warranted him to give me more money for that signing? He just thanked me for my professionalism and the fact that I took care of the mistake that I took ownership of right away. So
at Unlimited Ink, we've done that before too, where a notary owns up and does things and we're like, hey, you're going above and beyond. Even if you make a mistake, doesn't mean the end of the world. Remember, and I will say this wisdom does not come from Notary Stars. It comes from Carol Ray. God rest her soul. It's not the mistakes we make that people remember. It's how quickly and professionally we handle them. Paraphrased, of course. That is why you are awarded more money for that. I've awarded notaries for going back and doing a good job and a positive attitude about it. Honestly, we all make mistakes. And if we didn't make mistakes, nobody could afford us.
yeah.
So I'm glad that they did recognize that in you. And I see that very far and few in between with signing agencies.
Yeah.
But, if they felt like you deserved it, then you deserved it.
Yeah, I just, all I can say is thank you. I appreciate the vote of confidence in my work. Because there was a new signing company for me and I had contacted them because it's unfortunate, but there's so many signing companies starting up. Sometimes you're going to get stiffed. It's unfortunate, but it happens. So I just called them. I just wanted to talk to them because I looked up their website and I did talk to the owner of the signing company. He just kind of laughed. He said that he appreciated my tenacity in calling him to make sure that they were real. So, because again, you can do a job that's a $200 job and then not get paid for it because it's happened, and then of course comes Legal Shield. But the title company, just forget today's job. What I wanted, because this is about marketing, the title company that I did the job for the realtor, I would like to market to them. Do you suggest that I do that since they were actually the ones with this second job that I was given from the realtor?
If you had two jobs out of them, I would. If the realtor's suggesting you, I would actually take the realtor to lunch on me. See if I could take them to lunch and say, hey, we've done two signings together. I'd like to see if there's a way for you to introduce me to the title agency, which will always come by far if he's bleeding business into them. It'll come better. If not, then I would, if the title agency is calling you direct now, I would see if anything else comes. If nothing comes in the next week or so, then I would reach out to that realtor and see if I can get an introduction. If they call you again, definitely.
So how do you feel that if I had started already developing a relationship with the title company within that 48-hour time span.
Where
And
did the initial order come from?
it came from the realtor who I worked with the first time. She recommended me to one of her coworkers.
Okay, and then they kept hiring.
The other realtor hired me for the sale.
Okay, so I would go through the realtors first because they're the ones bleeding you the business.
Okay. All right. I wasn't sure.
But definitely remember there's a chain of command and order, and those realtors may stop referring you if they feel like you're overstepping their relationships because they have a relationship with title first.
That's what I wasn't sure.
Yeah, chain of command, never go around your way. I have friends that I don't hang out with that overstepped my friendship to hang out with my boyfriends in the past. So whatever, never overstep the chain of command. It works the same thing in the professional world and as in the personal world.
I'll be sure to send a thank you again to the realtors for their business. And they're a little far away from
them. If you've got 2 orders out of them, it's worth a lunch.
Oh, okay.
Take them to lunch.
Will do.
You don't have to do an elaborate lunch. Take them somewhere nice, but take them somewhere and let them see you in person.
Will do. Well, I mean, they have. I mean, I actually walked the documents from the second one into the office. We scanned it from there, and then speaking to the title company, as long as they had the scan, I just mailed it from that point. They just wanted it mailed. So I did actually walk in and meet the second realtor. The first realtor, we met up twice. So the second one I saw only one time, but we had continuous conversation on how to handle his client.
Awesome. Ms. Lori, we got to move on to the last question. And then I appreciate you for your input tonight. And I know Ms. Jody Pokes had her hand up for a while. Thank you, Ms. Lori. We love you. All right. And Ms. Jody? There we go.
Hi, thank you. I've had over a year training and a lot of it was live. Is there a way to find out like if there's particular modules that I need to view and watch that I might not have gotten in our boot camp or anything like that? Like a way to know.
We did implement a self-guiding course. So the way you're already on my list, so because we send you offers and orders.
Right.
You're already on the list. So once you get on the list, we don't revisit if you're updating that.
Okay.
Because we have the basics of trainings. If there's anything that we ever publish that you absolutely need to see, that's part of being a member. We're always adding new training. So you probably want to watch out for trainings. But once you get on the list, it's valid for a year as long as you're still a member.
Okay. So if I go to enroll in the marketing, it'll tell me then, right? Automatically if I can or if I'm missing anything.
No, you would be able to get in the marketing. I would approve that probably pretty much within 24 hours. You've definitely, I already know you're on the list because I've already put you, I know your name.
Thanks. I've been with you for a while.
You've done a lot of training. I already know that.
Great. Thank you. Good to know.
Thank you.
I'm gonna enroll.
Awesome.
Okay, so if you're ready to move on, Mr. Ronnie, we can close up, stop the recording. You wanted to address your new platform, your new listing.
Yep.
site.
I'm going to say this before I stop the recording. You can always go to Online Notaries Public and learn more about it. But if you are a Ron notary, please stick around for at least a few more minutes. I'm going to share my screen and let you know what's going on. Thank you guys for Notary Stars Unlimited today. I'm going to stop this recording now. And as you know, we've reached that time of the night where it's time to give our signature wave. Miss Beth, how do we say it? And if you guys go ahead and turn on your cameras.
I think we got you on share screen, Ronnie.
Let's stop the share there. There we go.
There you go.
And let's get it on gallery view.
Gallery, yeah. All right, guys. So everybody just remember, reach back, grab another notary, and help someone as you're going along your own journey. All right. Thanks, guys. Have a good evening.
Thank you, guys. Have a wonderful evening.